Welcome to today's episode of Learning Logistics, brought to you by the MVC Logistics Academy. We do supply chain videos, news, and education more fun and easier to digest. So, let's get started. In today's episode, we're going to discuss what is supply planning. This is all part of our Learning Logistics series, where we discuss the basic supply chain and logistics concepts. I covered the definition of logistics and demand planning in earlier episodes, so feel free to go back to those for a quick recap. In this episode, we will discuss supply planning, which goes hand in hand with demand planning. At its most basic level, demand planning is all about managing and planning for customer demand. Supply planning, however, is managing and planning the inventory supply to meet the customer demand. Now, by definition, supply planning is the component of supply chain management involved with determining how to best fulfill the requirements created from the demand plan. The objective is to balance supply and demand in a way that achieves the financial and service objectives of an organization. So, how does it work? Well, supply planning is really the entire process of planning distribution, manufacturing, and procurement operations that will be needed according to the demand forecast and the demand plan. Now, supply plans must consider additional things such as capacity constraints and material availability. Capacity refers to the ability to meet the customer's requirements with the available resources, such as machinery, factories, equipment, labor, raw materials, etc., that your organization has at hand. Supply planning involves the activities needed in order to meet the future demand in the best possible manner. It is a forward-looking process that tries to match supply with demand, because we need to find that perfect balance between these two. It is a constant dance, however, where the supply cannot exceed the demand because then we have too much product and not enough customers buying it, or vice versa, because then we don't have enough product for customers who actually want to buy it. The supply chain management process begins with creating a demand plan that takes the past sales and future customer forecasts into consideration. Once the demand plan is approved, it is translated into corresponding planning, execution, and shipping actions. For example, the demand plan will pinpoint ship from locations and customer records to identify geographic fulfillment needs. This information is then used to generate a master production schedule, or our supply plan, by item and by location. The supply plan will also cover the required inventory, order, production time, and minimum order quantity data. Supply planning also includes things such as demand prioritization, procurement, capacity planning, supplier management, order scheduling, inventory management, and replenishment planning, just to name a couple. What is the goal of supply planning? The goal of this process is to plan and organize the supply that will satisfy the demand for the product or service offered by our organization. Because supply planning determines how to best fulfill the requirements created from the demand plan, we have to determine a game plan to make that happen. After the demand plan has been completed and agreed upon, the supply plan needs to be achieved. We do this by looking at what we hold in inventory, what is missing, what needs to be purchased, how soon we can get it, and when we can start production. The main objective of all this planning is to produce enough, for example, say shoes, for every customer our demand plan is projecting they will buy the shoes from us. We must find the balance of having enough product or enough shoes for our customers, but never too many that is wasted or we have to sell them at discounted prices. What is the importance of supply planning? Well, supply planning is a tactical planning method that prepares organizations for the future. When done correctly, supply planning coordinates assets to best optimize the operations, manufacturing, and delivery of products. This planning process can be used to lower production costs, to streamline sales, and manage relationships with suppliers. There is a fair amount to account for in the planning process of supply chains as a whole, And there are so many moving parts that have to fit so well together that there isn't a lot of room for error. So we must use a collaborative approach to achieve this goal. This is why supply chain planning and supply plans are so important. The objective is to coordinate across different business units so we can increase transparency and be able to balance our supply with our demand while also staying profitable. As you can see, there are many elements to supply planning, but a lot of them revolve around inventory and inventory management, which we will get to discuss in an upcoming episode of our Learning Logistics series. This brings us to the end of today's episode about supply planning. Please subscribe to the show for future episodes and comment below and tell us, how does your organization create a demand plan that can be translated successfully into a supply plan? Like us, follow us, and join the conversation on our social media pages listed in the description. Please subscribe to the channel to learn more about the chaotic but exciting world of supply chain and logistics. Thank you for joining us. Until next time on Learning Logistics.